Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it. Especially as it relates to 16 and 14, both sharing development resources, both sharing a producer, Yoshi P. And the other aspect of it is that when they announced 16, they say that they're targeting 2021 as a release. So ultimately, we're not left thinking it's 10 years. Even if it does get delayed and hits 2022, this does not appear to be a game that we're going to be playing in 2031, which I think is a real plus for the series itself. But I want to get your take on, the announcement of 16. We got the trailer playing right now. Based off of what you were just sharing with, obviously, your relationship with 13 and 15 and how 14 had an interesting time. Ryan, what are you looking forward to with Final Fantasy 16? Is this something that you feel is going to rejuvenate the series in some way?
Well, yes. With 14, again, when I was talking about how the modern series just hasn't hit the right chords that I think that it should be hitting. When I played Final Fantasy XIV, and I think it's, for most people, really, it's when I got to Heavensward that it really started hitting the right notes with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that you need to be doing. Do that thing. Do that thing in the single player games. And that's probably the primary reason that I'm excited for 16, really, is that the opportunity for the single player series to have that sort of same narrative inspiration that I find so beautiful with Final Fantasy XIV. And then also to have like a sick Devil May Cry Dragon's Dogma inspired combat system on top of that. I think that's going to be like just a really powerful combination. For 14, I guess, MMO combat doesn't really hit for some people.
It's never violent. Right?
Yeah.
It's never violent, so it doesn't feel like it has meaning. And then you never have player agency because you have to have players all get to the same boss so we can run it as a group. And so you can't make decisions that would not get you to the boss.
Right. Exactly. And so to be able to see that that team, or at least a lot of key staff members from that team, be able to do something now where they can do those things. And they can do a whole bunch of other things that they probably couldn't do in the context of an MMO. I find that truly exciting. And then with the way that Final Fantasy XIV has, in my opinion, again, hit the right chords, hit all the right notes with me in a way that I feel that, okay, this is the direction that the storytelling of the franchise needs to be going. And for more people to be exposed to that, because you have a lot of people who are just like, I'm not touching an MMO. Final Fantasy fan, love the series, but I'm just not touching it. So to make that even more accessible to people is great to me. That's what I think the series needs to be doing. And in development for 4 years when they announced it. I want to clap for Square. Thank you for doing the right thing. Yes.
It's such an important aspect too, because it's like we've seen it over and over again, that long development cycle, leading to, I think, expectations that are just untenable. I see it time and time again from gamers like, oh, this game's got 10 years of development. They spent $600 million. It's gonna be perfect cyberpunk. And then it's like, okay, like maybe it's been that long in development because there's some problems that we need to all be concerned about and have like a real conversation about.
Yeah. Extremely long development periods are usually a bad sign. And I think people don't realize that. A lot of the times it means that something is going on in the background that's preventing them from proceeding from the next step, whether that's there's no concise vision of what the game should be. There's some sort of financial issue. There's some sort of, business politics going on. But yeah, extremely long development periods does not mean that you're going to get a game that necessarily has that sort of development time put into it.
I mean, there's a lot of rework, right? Like you can't work on something for 10 years continuously and know. Like, think about what hardware has done in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
you would have had to start at the beginning with what was possible, and that's now outdated.
Yeah,
like, that's below min spec now.
Yeah, and no one starts and like that too, but no one starts a project and be like, I'm gonna work on this for 10 years and it's gonna be like the greatest magnum.
Indie devs do.
Yeah,
indie devs do.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with like a lot of roguelikes, but Dwarf Fortress is a game that's going on like 30 years of development.
Oh wow, yeah,
but like it's an ASCII game, so like it's not designed for graphics. And literally every time hardware upgrades, they're like, great, I can just lay more stuff on top of your CPU.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you're running, Dwarf Fortress can bring it to its knees.
Yeah.
But so like it happens, but there's a reason that they remain in indie. Like you can't be mainstream like that. You got to get it together at some point.
No corporation. So then let's put it like this. No corporation wants to
You're not going to build a large
years.
fan base with you know, decades of development per title.
Right. Yeah, because corporations,
maybe the one example of a game that can come out with Diablo's the one example where they can have 10 years of hype and then people are mad when it's anything but that. So you know, it comes right back around to the same thing.
Yeah, Tashido also makes a great point here. I see you highlighted. The Final Fantasy XIV devs are also among the greatest at listening to fans. And I definitely agree. I think that not so much now. I think Square-Enix as a company, as an organization, has gotten tremendously better at listening to fans. They are by and far much better than before. Are they where they need to be?
Probably not.
Probably not.
They're getting better.
I mean, but Avengers is underneath their banner.
Again.
Let's just not count that.
Avengers, yes. But think about like 1.0. Think about like 2010, like PlayStation 3 Square Enix. They're a lot better than that. Yes. So have they gotten better? Yes.
And greatest is relative to everybody else. And so like there are plenty of examples of other studios missing the mark, the standards that they set. So with the future of 14 and 16, are you thinking that 14 is going to be something you're invested in for the long haul?
Oh yeah, way long haul. I'm so hooked into the story, and the way that they world build is just so incredible, man. There's just so many times where I'm playing and I'm just like, oh, they actually thought about that. Like they really thought about it. And it's stuff from like the most simple things to the most major things. And an arbitrary Shadowbringers example, not too spoilery, but in Raktika, like when you're like learning from like Runar about how they have like a religion there that worships darkness. And I was just like, oh yeah, of course they would have like all these like religious customs to worship darkness, because the light is like over like running everything. So it's like darkness becomes something sacred. And then they have like all of these traditions that they do. And I'm just like, oh, they actually thought about how the world would really look like if there was just like this eternal light blinding everyone, and how people would actually have their feelings and about darkness and what darkness actually represents to them in such an intimate way. And I'm like, oh, that's actually, they really thought about like, oh, if this was real, this is how it would actually be. And there's just an attention to detail that I feel like the series has not had in quite some time.
I'm hoping 16 can take that even further, like The Witcher, right? Because you can only do so much world building without having everything be instanced, so that like your version of Raktika reflects all of the points at the story you're in. Like you can still, while you're in Raktika, at the end of the zone, you can still run into players who are just starting the zone, which means we can't do anything like burn the zone down, right? We can't have like major destruction without phasing happening, without there being multiple Raktikas. And it's like, oh, well, what? And then you run into the issue of like, okay, new players are in Raktika at the beginning and they don't see anybody because everybody else is past the end point where there's a major shift in the zone. So like, I'm really hoping 16 can take what you're talking about there, like just so much further.
Yeah. And I think we already see it, because I think what we're seeing with the time skip that Clive goes through, or what appears to be a time skip. I think they confirmed it. Yeah, more or less, because at the beginning of the story, they say he's like 15 years old. And he definitely does not look like 15 at the later half of the story.
Yeah,
he definitely looks like he's in like his mid to late 20s.
Which some kids, that's just 16, right? Some kids go
Yeah.
through that. It's just 1 year. They take a summer off and they come back and it's like,
hey,
you have a beard now.
What happened to you, man?
Oh man, Clive started.
I'm a
lifting.
man
I don't
now.
know,
Puberty
man.
was intense.
It was insane. I ate so much pizza.
Started playing a little football, and I don't know, man, Clive. But yeah, so I think they're already taking advantage of that, what you're talking about, what they couldn't do in 14 without having to instance everything, basically.
The thing that excites me is about 16 and 14 in general is that with 16, it's the Heavensward team, and we've been playing the trailer for Heavensward, and it just brings back such good memories, and it's such a powerful expansion, and it's one of the things that, like, as a content creator, as we talk to new players, and as they struggle with ARR, and I know that I always want to be clarifying that not everybody will struggle with ARR. If you had a great ARR experience, that's amazing. I did too. But when I talk to a lot of people who are like, people keep saying this game's great, why am I not having fun? And it's like, there's a little bit of a trial and error. This is kind of like a weed out class in college. Like, you get through this, you're going to be fine. And you're going to probably even enjoy the game more having had that experience. But, Shadowbringers actually, in Chris's case, actually acts as a really good entry point if somebody just starts there, plays that, and then dives back into New Game Plus. They end up having a different experience. That's one of the things we've been exploring on our YouTube channel. But I'm personally just excited to see what Yoshi P and his team can do. Not having to save an MMO, but to sit here and say, like, what kind of game and story do we want to tell? And allow them that time to build it out. And the fact is, I've said it for a long time, the best thing that they are doing right now, personally speaking, is they let us know about the game when it's close to being released. Even if it gets delayed now a little bit, they're talking about this game targeting this year alone. Even if it doesn't make 2021 due to the way the world is, that doesn't have me sitting here going like, oh, that sounds, like they're showing us combat. They already have more announcements they're talking about and making in February. Like, at the core of it, I'm really excited to see where we go with this, what they do with it. And I think that is going to be something that will hopefully set a new tone for the series, especially being that this game is M-rated. They're already showing blood. They're already, like, when we talk about why people love The Witcher, it has such a huge impact. And it's like, why would Square-Enix, a company that has such a profound history, like, shackle itself to saying, no, we have to stick with teen? It's like, no, Witcher 3 sold just fine. Like, when Deadpool came out, Deadpool said, yeah, you can make an R-rated comedy and still make money. Like, there's certain things that it's like, okay, let's just make the game you want to make. And as long as they target that, I think 16 is going to be just fine. Any thoughts on 16 and 14 before we get into our second topic?
Oh, man. So you can tell there are certain times in 14 they would really like to push that M button, like be like, let's do M-rated, but they can't, so they have to kind of have to imply it in the details. They can't be explicit. So to see them be able to be explicit in what they want to do for 16, super exciting. I just feel like 16 is a place for that team to unleash all of the energy that they can't unleash in 14, but that they want to. And I think that's what excites me the most about it.
I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.